Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Well, hello, everybody. It's not Steve, it's Becky Brown, and I'm so glad to be with you today, as well as with my friends Dr. Jill Hubbard and Dr. Jim Burns in our California studio. How are you guys?
Becky, great to be with you, and
yes.
We like Steve, but we might like you better, so we just want you to know
we're
that.
really happy to hear your voice.
You're smarter,
I bet you are.
brighter.
2 days ago, we were sweating it out a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but you guys did great. You know, I was just realizing my kids are all out of the house now as far as the school year, though, but it has started. And, you know, right now there's a lot of parents that have those folders with all the forms to fill out. Actually, that really ages me because I'm sure it's all online now, right?
Yeah.
But maybe they've just brought the fundraisers home because, you know, if they're
Right.
in any grade level at all, they're raising money for that school. But, you know, kids are pretty stressed out comparatively to maybe 20, 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. And a lot has to do with the changes in the culture with the pandemic and such, and just the shift in that. But, you know, Jim, I know that you just did a blog post on how to protect your kids from burning out. Yeah. And I would love for you to give us some insight, some of the parents that are listening, maybe even grandparents. How can we encourage kids in this day and age of, you know, to reduce that risk and not to be so stressed out?
Well, and you know what, Becky, I think you're so right that, you know, the world is different. We were 6, and we were 8, and 11, 12, 16, but we were never their age because they experienced so much so young, whether it be the pandemic or just the craziness of the culture.
Right.
And as parents, I think we have to take the lead. And I think we lead sometimes by saying, you know what, Monday is going to be fun day tonight. And I know you have some homework, but we're going to go out and get some ice cream, and we're going to laugh and play, and we're going to spend 45 minutes doing that, and then we're going to get back to the homework or whatever. So I think it's our responsibility to help our kids stay not as, you know, we just have to help our kids not be as stressed by us taking the lead, even sometimes with fun. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I mean, you can structure fun.
Exactly.
Right? Have a certain time period, like you're saying.
Right. I was thinking about a family I know that literally Monday they go out and get ice cream. I don't think it's great for their, you know, for their waistline. But how great is that the family looks forward to that?
Right.
That doesn't change everything in the culture, but it makes it better.
Well, just along that same line, though, Jim, it's the routine of the family, right? This is what the family does. Right. And I think that is what you're speaking to, is to have the things that are expected, because there's been so much unexpected in the culture.
Right. Well,
exactly.
Even though they're filling up on ice cream, they're filling up on connection with each other.
Yeah,
which then enables you to do more. To
go and get that stuff done.
Yeah.
But we also, as parents, have to understand that, you know, our kids are all not going to go to Ivy League schools, and they're not going to become the next, you know, professional golfer. So I think what we need to do is back off a little bit. And, you know, I have a friend who wrote a book called Ending the Homework Hassle. And basically what he said was, you know what, they're going to have to learn how to do this. And here's the time frame, and then quit at this point. And, you know, they're still going to make it. It's going to be okay. And I think we get all uptight, and in our stress, then sometimes we lay that on our kids.
We don't want to put our perfectionism, right?
Exactly.
On them.
But we do that.
We do. It's not a reflection on us, right? It's about their learning. Right? And some kids, you need to talk it through with them.
Well, and isn't it just like you're saying, though, too, Jill, it's our expectation of what they're going to become.
Yes.
Or our hope of what they're going to become. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's pressure
or
that goes with
fear
that.
of their failure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We really take that on.
Yeah, so if you're pushing too many buttons for your kids and you're stressing them out, take a breather. Because this is going to go fast. It's going to go really fast. And I just, you know, try to treasure that. And I know that's really irritating to hear when you're a young parent. It's like the last thing you want to tell a parent of young kids. It's such a great time.
Yeah,
because it's a stressful time. But try to build in some routines. I think that'll encourage you. After this break, we're going to do the routine of answering calls because we love to help. We'll be right back.
I came into this thinking that my husband was the cause of many of our issues.
The New Life Intimacy and Marriage Workshop is coming to Dallas, Texas, October 21st to the 23rd.
But after learning about our attachment styles, I understood how our past hurts were playing into our present problems.
Join Steve Arterburn.
It's been a dream of mine for a long time to help people to grow more intimately together, and we believe that everybody has room to grow in the intimacy level of their life.
And Mylan and Kay Yurkovich.
We help couples understand how their attachment style is sabotaging their current relationship, and then we teach them how to create comfort in a relationship.
And New Life's group counselors will help you focus on the area that will benefit your marriage most. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Here at this workshop, we had our first ever conversation without yelling, blaming, and accusing.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. It's Becky Brown with Dr. Jill Hubbard and Dr. Jim Burns, and we're taking your calls today. And I just want to follow up with that opening segment that, if you sense what
we were on the break following up with it, but
you were following up. I was just going to add that if you are sensing that your child is getting stressed out, maybe you start with going to a counselor first, like that. You go talk to somebody. We have counselors all over the country. You can call us 1-800-NEW-LIFE and we'll get you connected. And if they, if your kids need help, we can connect you that way too. But don't do this on your own. There's people that can help. And speaking of helping, we're going to go to the calls. Unless, Jill, it sounds like you got one more thing.
Well, I was just thinking, Jim, from your book and from the seminar we did where you say don't be a one-topic parent, and that's with adult kids, but I think it's true in elementary school.
Sure it is.
If you're just kind of hounding them for all the things they need to do, right? You need some like a little bit of eyeball to eyeball time where you find out about their world and how they're feeling, what they're thinking about, what interests them, right?
Exactly. Right. And it's actually those kind of conversations are what build upon all the other issues, and it makes it better. And it makes it all right when we have those connection times.
Yeah.
We only have 936 weeks from the time a child is born to the time we launch them to adulthood. Okay, and so I think
way to go, Jim.
I'm making everybody feel great. But you know what? What I say is then
that through high school or college?
That's through high school, 18. So
okay,
they
they're still not always.
No, and my
launched.
kids said they were adults at 18, and I always put quote marks. You can see it on YouTube. You can't see it, any other way. But the quote marks because they really weren't. But they were launched to adulthood. Well, that meant that all of a sudden I started doing dates with my kids at a pretty young age, and our daughter Becca liked to go to Target and eat corn dogs. I'm going, seriously, I could go with something better than that. No, I want the corn dog. Well, you know what? We'd sit, we'd talk. And it was beautiful. Aww. And I found that those times were we'd laugh. They're still special. Today she's in her 30s, and she talks about how gross the corn dogs must have been and how many corn dogs we ate. And I'm thinking, well, you know what? Those were special moments. And she goes, you know what, Dad? They were.
Well, and that goes back to what you said, Jim, about the routine. So those are the things they remember.
Yeah, and don't eat corn dogs. I got fat on it.
We're going to go to the calls right now. We're going to talk to Diane, who's calling us from Northridge, California, listens on KKLA, and we're glad you held on. Diane, how can we help you today?
Yes, good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
Of course. How can we help you?
Yes, I was calling about my 31-year-old son. When he was 20 years old, he started to have digestion issues, have since gotten worse. And obviously we took him to general practitioners, specialists, natural doctors, and he hasn't seen any results. So recently we went to a GI who also does progressive medicine, and he prescribed him medication. I think it's called Mirazepam or Remeron, which is an antidepressant, and that helped with his gut issues. But we're a little bit concerned because he's never taken any medication for depression or anxiety, and he's never done any drugs. And it seems like now his body's getting used to this dosage, and they had to up it just recently, and we don't want it to become an addiction issue. And another question that I have is he looked into a treatment called ketamine treatment, which again involves drugs, and he needs to do 6 sessions of it in a 4-week period. Mm-hmm. And so my question was, on a spiritual level and physical level, you know, he and us, we're all worried about addiction issues to this treatment, and also whether it's just Christian counsel regarding taking that treatment.
Okay. Well, let's start with you, Jim, and then we'll go to Jill.
Well, I think you're asking great questions. And also, he's 31 years old, so he's going to make up his own mind. You can come alongside and be that help when he invites you in. And it sounds like he's inviting you into that. But I'm not totally opposed personally. And again, you get different opinions with everybody here. But I'm not totally opposed to medication. I just want to make sure that the medication is not going to move toward, you know, other addictive behaviors or things like that. And so that's where you come in with the authorities. And again, I used a scripture a couple of days ago on the show, where there's no counsel, the people fall, in the multitude of counselors there is safety. And we talk about counseling, like Christian counseling, but we also can talk about counseling from a doctor. And so, you know, a psychiatrist, someone who understands the medical issues and the addictive issues, I would make sure that I had input from them as well. What can you do? You know, what by taking this medicine, where is this going to lead long term? They have the answers for that, but they may have different answers. So you might want to get, you know, a couple of different medical people involved in it. But if it's working for him, and sometimes that may be the issue. Now, the other side and then I'll let Jill fill in, but the other side of anxiety and depression is, sure, that can give problems, you know, gut problems. You use the word gut problems. And, you know, sometimes counseling can do some of the same things that a drug can. So you may, if he does have some depression and anxiety, then it would be wise for him to get with a Christian counselor in your area and talk through some of those kinds of issues too, if that's also the issue. But again, I'm not one who's opposed. I don't think you just throw drugs at him. You obviously haven't done that. My goodness, he's had digestive issues for 11 years. And so sometimes if something's working, then I personally praise God for the fact that, you know, there is something that's helping him get through his days. And sometimes that can be short term, and sometimes, unfortunately, it does become long term. That's yet to be seen, what's going to happen on that. Jill?
And Diane, you've said he's never done any other kinds of drugs. He's never done marijuana?
No.
No.
No recreational drugs.
Okay. Not at all. Okay, because that can cause a lot of stomach issues for people. And so this is a long-term issue. And with any long-term issue, changes occur over time, right? Our bodies change every 7 years. And at times we can hit kind of a plateau when it comes to a medication. I don't believe, although I'm not 100% certain, that Remeron is one that is addictive, where there is a category where you build a tolerance to, and that can be problematic. Those are the benzodiazepines. But with Remeron and most antidepressants, you're okay to take them. And I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think people psychologically get worried and feel that they have become dependent on a medication because they're so afraid of the depression and they don't want it to come back. So they'll take their meds religiously. It's sounding like perhaps it's not worked as well over time as he would want it to. And that's why he's looking into these newer types of treatments. And so sometimes it's like wanting that one thing that's just going to unlock and solve all of our problems, versus sometimes we have issues that are ongoing, and we do what we can to maintain the most optimal health possible, but sometimes they are with us for a long time. The best thing is always to have counseling along with medication. Yeah. And, not just doing medication, that you need to be working on the issues around depression. Even if it's biochemical, it still creates problems that you need to work through. And so sometimes there's long-term therapy that is really, really helpful with depression, and that's just part of the regimen. And I agree with you, Jim, that you need doctors involved. He should not jump into a new form of treatment kind of on his own, hoping for the miracle cure. But under physician's care, those new treatments, are finding some success. So
Yes.
Well, and what I would add too is going all the way back to what you started with, Jim, is Diane, as a 31-year-old man, you need to help him become resourceful as opposed to you being the resource, which is, I know that if he's been having this problem for a long time, that's going to be a new role for you. In our healing process, there's spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. And so it could be the medicine that he's taking along with counseling, maybe with his belief system. I don't know if he's a believer, but also movement, moving the body. It really does help with all of those things. So it's a whole approach, but I want you to encourage him, and we can help him get connected with a counselor or, whatever is the need. We're going to send you a copy of Take Your Life Back. And I think that'll be helpful for him to kind of get a, kind of a picture of what the next steps will be. And we're so glad you called, Diane. I just think, isn't that the truth though, is that we can get into the helping mode for so long that then that just becomes our new job.
Well, especially with a sick child. With a sick
Right,
child, there's some
exactly.
regression that takes place. And, mother's hearts jump out at that. And she's the one that has been through it with him and knows.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a hard rule to
Absolutely.
break.
Well, and I also think that we have to look at what is beyond or behind all of the feeling. If there was trauma that she may not know about, there's just a lot. As you guys know, it's complex. But we're glad you called and hope that will help you. We're going to talk with Kathy, who's calling us from Kearney, Nebraska, listens on KJLT. Hi, Kathy. Thanks for hanging on. How can we help you today?
Thank you. Thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome.
Hello?
We're here.
Hello. Go ahead.
Hello?
We're waiting for you.
Okay. Thank you for taking my call. My question is, what should I do? A little bit of the background. 3 weeks ago, we visited my son and daughter-in-law, and my son basically just had an emotional meltdown over a situation. He called me just under a week ago, and again, he was just. He calls me often, sometimes to vent, but he's just emotionally distraught. And he basically had another meltdown. And long story short, he basically said, I don't think my dad cares. I don't think my dad loves me. I don't think he just has never done anything affirming to me to let me know that, he supports me. He, he's there for me. Mm-hmm. And I spoke to my husband about it, not in those specific terms because of who my husband is. And I said, so is there any way that you can connect with our son? His name is Aaron. And I said, is there any way you can connect with him? And he said, well, he doesn't want to have anything to do with me. He has noticed in times past my son will call me, but he won't call him. And it's our son together. It's not just mine like through a previous situation, but it's our son. And he, my husband doesn't really know how to connect with people. I think he's still trying to get approval from his mom. His dad has passed away, and I think he's still trying to get his mom's approval. And I don't think he knows how to connect. It's personally, I guess I don't think our marriage has much connection to it. I just think that he is, my husband is hurting, and he's very closed. He doesn't open up to me about things like that. And, it's kind of like, what can I do?
Okay.
What should I do?
It's a good question.
Yeah, so Kathy, it sounds like your husband saying he doesn't want anything to do with me is an excuse for his lack of connection and lack of knowing how. It probably sounds really scary when you say our son feels this way and that you want him to connect, like he doesn't even know what that looks like at all. And when you tell me, too, it's also in the marriage. So there's some hurts and things in your husband. And often a good place to start when our kids are struggling, right? It's with the marriage. You could be a big help with your husband. Like I'm thinking of our intimacy and marriage workshop.
Yep.
If he
I
could
was
start to
thinking the same
connect
thing.
with you and feel a little bit safer, he might then learn some ways to reach out to his son. Because it probably isn't true that he doesn't care. He just doesn't know how to communicate it.
Well, and I was thinking the same thing, Jill. We'll continue the call after the break, Kathy. You can hear the music, but our wounds, our core wounds, and you mentioned your husband didn't connect with his family, continue to act in the present and in the future if we don't address them. So I think that's what's happening right here in front of you. But there's hope and there's help. And the Intimacy and Marriage Workshop would be a great place for you to start. But I want to hear what Jim has to say after we get back from the break. We are so grateful you called. We'll be right back.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here. The thing that we've been doing here for over 3 decades is trying to help people see there is a better way. And I don't know of anybody that doesn't have something that they couldn't be working on.
The Repurposed Life online conference is Saturday, September 24th. The topics addressed are for anyone who wants to move from the pain and struggles of the past towards a healthy, happier future. Steve and Misty Arterburn, Chris Williams, and Becky Brown will cover topics like how to move from past hurts and trauma, building your community, codependency, failure and recovery, recovery from the pandemic, and much more.
The Repurpose Conference is something I'm really excited for because it really is addressing the life recovery process. But again, we all need recovery.
To register or to find out more about the Repurposed Life online conference, call 1-800-639-5433 or liferecoverygroups.com. Chris Williams on coaching.
Oftentimes I get asked, what is the difference between therapy and coaching? The biggest difference between the two is that a therapist is going to be looking for a diagnosable mental health condition, whereas a coach is going to look at a particular issue and help a person work through that.
If you need a coach, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
If you're looking at an issue in your life that you just kind of want to change, whether it be your weight or leadership or other areas of behavioral patterns, check out coaching. There can be some really, really helpful things for you.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 and talk to us about getting a New Life coach. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are so glad you're with us. We're talking with Kathy right now, and there's a challenge of connection in the family. Her adult son and husband don't connect, and it seems like it's a family tradition.
Well,
Jim,
and that's, let me
go ahead,
just say
Jill.
that's how the dynamics evolve, because your husband isn't good at connecting, and it sounds like you're much better at it, and your son is very emotional, so of course he's going to connect with you. And so then it builds in these feelings that each of them have that is so sad, right?
Well, even the word connection, intimacy, is really a form of connection.
Yes.
Sometimes guys go right to physical intimacy.
Right.
And women get it, wait, it's connection. But the thing we have to understand, and this is where somehow, Kathy, your husband's going to have to figure out, is that his way of doing intimacy and connection is going to be different than yours, and maybe even your son's, because your son had a meltdown, so he's emotional, on and on. Sometimes two men could go to a baseball game, watch the entire game, and only have a couple of words between each other, and come back and say, that was a great time with Dad. You know what I'm saying? Or they went fishing and they caught some fish and they didn't even really connect like you would expect to. Right. And so I wonder if there's ways for him, without putting your husband down, but ways for him to, your son wants connection, but he probably doesn't need the deep issues as much as, honestly, are there ways for them just to do some simple connection at the beginning, because you get a simple connection and it worked, and then you do it again, and then it got better, and then it got better, and all of a sudden you're having a conversation. I was talking to a dad about his son having, now this is younger than your son, but having the sex talk, right? And he said, well, we never looked at each other. We just drove and we listened to a tape. And then, what do you think? He goes, I think I got it covered. Okay, great. They didn't have this. My daughters, because I have all daughters, and my wife had these deep conversations and questions and, whatever. And, the dad and the son just, listened, and that was it. So, are there ways to begin to do those baby steps is also what I'm thinking about. Although I think everything that Jill has said is exactly right. And when you work on your own marriage and he understands intimacy, and by the way, that's a learned trait. He can learn this. Oh, it's going to open up for you amazing things, but it'll also open up for him an amazing new life, that there's connection, even, yes, in your marriage, but also there's connection with your own son, and he probably wants that. He just doesn't know how to get it.
Well, right, and that it's not as scary probably as he imagines it to be.
Yeah.
And you can even acknowledge maybe how scary it is for him because it wasn't modeled for him. Right? That it's not his fault. He's just doing what was taught
but
to
he
him.
can do some of those basic things, like I said, go to the ball game if you can, or whatever, those kinds of things. I'm not saying it's ball game.
And even
That's
your son's an adult.
Right.
He can invite his dad someplace.
Yes.
It's like, Dad, maybe you need to be the one to reach out first.
Yeah, right.
So Kathy, I think, I think what we're going to do is we're going to send you a copy of How We Love. I would encourage both your son.
I think How We Love Our Kids, too. Or instead.
Well, I had another idea, but we'll do that instead. But Kathy, I would encourage your son and daughter-in-law to go to Intimacy and Marriage. This isn't something that's going to stop with him if he doesn't address his core wounds, and that's what we talk about at Intimacy and Marriage. It's not just how to talk nicely to each other. It's literally how to understand and connect with each other. And we're glad you called today, Kathy, and hope that something we said will help. If you're interested in intimacy and marriage, like I just said, we've got help for you. We're going to be in Dallas in October, and it's one of the best things that we do. I mean, we do a lot of great things. That's one of my favorites. Right now, we're going to take Peter's call, who's calling us from Boston, Massachusetts, listens on Sirius XM. Hi, Peter. Thanks for calling. How can we help you today?
How are you doing today, folks?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm trying to put together. I'm doing well, thank you. I'm trying to put together a kind of a concise question for you. So, blended relationship of a couple of years, my girlfriend and I. She's got 2 younger boys. My kids are older. What seems to be kind of a reoccurring little speed bump is, at least, the boys kind of taking advantage of mom. Great mom, incredibly giving. But sometimes I feel like the boys got her number and take advantage and not listening, kind of an entitled kind of behavior from time to time. And to me I want to stand in front of mom and say, boys, listen to mom, do what you're told, so forth and so on. But sometimes I wonder whether I just need to step aside and just let it happen, or I guess, is it her way, or is it our way, or is it just none of my business?
And how long have you been dating?
I feel like,
I'm sorry.
A couple years.
A couple years, okay.
And what's the future here?
It's a bit of a...
Peter, what's the future for this relationship?
Well, I think we're very close. I think we've got a strong relationship, but this is one of a couple of things that is kind of a speed bump from time to time. So, to me, I think to us, really, I think it's part of I guess the relationship growing is figuring out what's
Peter,
the right way to handle this stuff.
Is their dad involved with them?
Virtually none.
Virtually none. Okay, so there's been no alpha in the home, right? And so they're pushing it, right? Moms tend to be more nurturing and understanding. Right. Not that moms can't be tough.
Mom's amazing. Mom's an alpha, but she's sometimes I wonder. I'm like, it seems like a little overparenting, but who am I to say?
Okay, so, well, Peter, you can hear the music. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and hear from Jill and Jim. And it's good that you're asking these questions now. Because if you do end up being together for a long time, these guys are going to be part of your family. They kind of are already if you're 2 years in, but it can be a challenge. And we want to help you get on the right foot and connect with them and with her. We'll be right back.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit its addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I turned on New Life, and the topic that day was about anxiety. And just by listening, I got relief.
You can help New Life stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of the Life Recovery Bible personal size, the 1-year Life Recovery Prayer Devotional, the New Life Journal, a New Life pen and highlighter, and a New Life zipper tote to hold it all. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We've been talking with Peter, who is in a relationship with a woman who has a couple of sons, and he has his own children, but just trying to navigate the challenges of bringing families together in one way or another. Jim or Jill, who wants to start?
Well, Peter, let me say this. It is the most often asked question I get. I work with an organization called Homeward. We are the largest provider of parenting seminars, and people who are in a relationship like you or in a blended family, that's what they're asking. Mm-hmm. And it's this, you called it a speed bump, and I think it's a really good idea. It's the thing you got to work through. You got to work through it with your girlfriend. And again, it's a process. I get it. Your girlfriend has been in a relationship with her ex. She has, other 2 small children. She's trying to probably, you use the word overparent, but she's trying to be probably more their friend. And you're
both mom and dad.
Yeah, right. And you're sitting back, watching this. You can't take the key role at this point. You're not the father. You're the, eventually maybe the stepfather. But it is the issue that you're going to have to work through with her, and you're seeing it probably pretty clearly from a distance. She doesn't see it as clearly, maybe because she's in the midst of it. So your job, I think, is with her to help her come up with a solution. And by the way, that's not an easy solution because, my wife and I have been married 48 years, and we still argue over those issues right there.
Right.
Okay, so I got news for you. There's not this easy answer, but the fact is that's your speed bump. So good. You've recognized your speed bump. Now work through the speed bump, and maybe the best thing you can do is go get some counseling on it. By the way, you've been with her for 2 years. Are you living with her?
No.
No, okay. So since you're not living with her, I actually applaud you for that because by moving in, and if you're just the boyfriend in there, then it kind of changes the role. How do the kids relate to you?
I would say, what's interesting is that we've got a good relationship. They're good boys.
Yeah.
They when I show up, the drama and the shenanigans quiets down quite a bit.
Very, very interesting. Wow. That's actually
it's the male energy.
Yeah. No, that's actually neat.
and all hell breaks loose when when I take off.
Right.
Not to that degree, but you get
But and by the way, that's normal.
Yeah, that's
Mom gets
normal.
super frustrated.
But they're not as.
Mom gets super frustrated because
Yeah.
I have they listen to me, they don't listen to her, so it's hard.
Right, that's normal.
Well, I think
she's
the next.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jill.
Well, she's aware of their lack of respect towards her. And I think
for sure.
part of that is she's the safest person in their world, right? And they're trying to exert themselves. And
For
sometimes boys, once in a while, boys need to win. Somebody told me that when my son was young. They're trying to exert themselves. They want to be big. Moms make kids feel small. And so sometimes they need to feel like they won something.
Yeah.
And so you let them win things you don't care about.
It's really interesting, yeah. It's interesting to see these boys where, just the other day we were out at an amusement center and Mom wanted to chase one of the boys down and say, "Don't do that." And I said, "Wait a minute. He's trying to flex his muscles a little bit and get out of his comfort zone a little bit. Let him be. We can watch him." But anyway, Mom's a pleaser. I'm an avoider pleaser. So
So you have the
that's kinda where
language,
we're at.
Peter. I think it would be great. What Jim said is the best next step is that you guys get, I would say you're going to have to decide what you're going to do in the relationship as far as your future with this woman. And then you can talk about counseling, because I don't know if this speed bump will be worth addressing if you're not going to go further into the future. And, one of the things that Steve says all the time is, as adults, it's like, if you're going to date for 2 years or more, what's the end result? And I think that you guys have to work on this connection of communication. Where are we going with this? What's this mean? There's a lot of questions that still have to be answered.
And I think, Peter, you have to invest in those boys to earn the right to then be able to say more eventually down the road. Right. So first, you do have to start out by being their friend, but an adult friend, not an equal friend.
And he's given great insight to her. That was the advice, the amusement park advice was a fabulous
great
advice.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and so, yes, encouraging their maleness is important.
Right.
I mean, I always remember the time when my son went through a brief football stage and he wanted to practice tackling me. And so it's like, okay, we're going to do it into the couch. And, I know you're really strong, so you can't do it your strongest. Okay, Mom. Okay.
Well, so, we're going to send him a copy of How We Love Our Kids since he's already on that thought process. Sure. But I think we'll just continue to encourage that next step process. I know that Larry's in the studio, but I want to go to a call before. We're going to talk to Rachel, who's calling us from Charlotte, North Carolina. She listens online, and we're glad that you called, Rachel, and I'm so glad you waited. How can we help you today? Rachel, are you there? No? Maybe we'll talk to Larry anyway. So
the next best thing.
Yeah, there you go.
That's right. Larry, how are you? And
I'm still laughing.
We learn from you today.
Okay, tomorrow, guys, every man's battle. Don't miss it. I know there's guys out there just saying, I know I should go, but I don't want to go. I don't want to admit it. I'm ashamed. All those thoughts are going through your head. But listen to this one. This is from a guy that went several years ago. After many years of infidelity and drug and alcohol abuse, I was faced with sad truths. I lacked the moral structure to turn from my demons. Although I found a gospel-preaching church, I later discovered I had an adult child out of wedlock. Admission brought many tears and much brokenness in our family. I attended Every Man's Battle in Washington, D.C., reluctantly, but knew almost immediately I fit in, and I needed counseling, and I needed repentance and change. By God's grace, we both traveled to meet my other son. We're staying in touch with him, staying in recovery groups, and serving God in the ways we are called. It all started with the launching received through Every Man's Battle. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, New Life. Thank you, Worthy of Your Trust. Worthy of Your Trust is the title of a book that the presenter at that time of Every Man's Battle wrote with Steve. I just want to encourage you guys. Life can be different. Doesn't matter what your background is. We get guys with so many strange, different,
hard, difficult, challenging backgrounds. But they have one thing in common. There's pain in their lives, and they ran to the wrong thing for comfort. So learn why you're running somewhere you shouldn't be running and see how you can do better. God will support it. The Holy Spirit is always, always evident at these workshops, and He could be evident with you too. So give us a call, 800 New Life. Today's the day. It starts tomorrow, Dallas, Texas. So it's not too late. And folks, please help support what we do. It's what the Holy Spirit is doing. I'm just going to ask you to pray about your giving. Pray about it, see what God wants you to do. And I'm praying that New Life might be part of the equation for what you get as an answer.
You know, Larry, one of the things that I love about you coming in and sharing those is it's life transformation in people, and it gives people hope, gives us all hope. I was thinking back to a scripture that says we inherit the sins of the previous generations onto the third and fourth generation. But, you know, right after that it says, but the love of God lasts for 1,000 generations. And I think we have to put a stake in the ground, and sometimes it's something like every man's battle.
So good.
We put a stake in the ground to say, I'm either going to repeat the sins of a previous generation. That's easy to do.
Right.
Or I'm going to recover. And if we're going to recover, the first step is often a hard step.
Yeah.
And that's, you know,
it's scary.
Yeah, that's a scary step. I mean, it's one thing to say, yeah, this guy changed, but what about me? Well, we can if we go to something like that, or even the people who say, you know what, maybe I should send in some money to help somebody else, get the life transformation. But we recover or we repeat. Why would you want to repeat?
I know.
But people do it all the time.
I think of the last caller and the guy at the fun center telling the wife, let him be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, you need to take the step of what that young man was doing, trying to exert his maleness in a way that just overcome your fear by going and doing something about it.
Yeah, I was going to give him the New Life star of the day on his
lapel.
I do, most days. And it was because that was a really wise thing to do. Peter is a very wise person. He asks great questions,
Well, thanks, Larry. We do have Rachel back, and we're gonna take her call after the break. But I agree with you guys that he does get the star. I don't think we mail stars out though, but look up in the sky and just pick one, Peter, and know that we're thinking of you with that star.
Yeah, public acknowledgement. That's the
there
star.
You go. There you go.
Go to the pharmacy, buy one of those cheap little things and put it on.
That's right. That's right. During the month of September, for any gift, we'll send you a copy of 100 Days of Freedom from Shame. And it's just another way to say thank you for helping us help other people, just like you guys were just saying, to recover and then help somebody else along the way, because we all need help every now and again, right? I mean, that's what we're here for, to help others as we heal ourselves. Thank you for all you who give. We'll be back after the break.
My husband was involved with a pornography addiction. He was unfaithful. I called the wedding off. He stepped out on the marriage and ended up having a child.
The Restore Workshop is designed for a woman dealing with a man's sexual addiction issues.
My husband is a recovering sex addict. There were strip clubs, other ladies.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Workshop will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
Restore has empowered me and has given me the tools to work through my anger, work through my pain, work through my confusion, and help me realize that I am worthy.
Being here and being surrounded by people who get it has given me my power back.
The Restore Workshop is coming to Washington, D.C. November 11th through the 13th. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or online at newlife.com.
Thank you, Restore. You have changed my life forever.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again. You seem to be able to get to the crux of a problem quickly.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for you and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly.
and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Just call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are so glad that you are with us today, and I hope that something that you've already heard has been helpful. But right now, we are going to help Rachel. Rachel, we're so glad you called back. How can we help you today?
Yes, hi, how are you?
Good.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead with your question.
Okay. I have a daughter that has lived with me on and off. She's about 32 years old now, and she has 2 children. She's never been married. She's a single parent, but a lot of the responsibilities for the grandchildren have been done by me. She's pretty much lived a life of a single person, where I've been stepping in and taking care of the day-to-day needs of the children. So she finally got her own place. She has a roommate that she's moved in with the last month or 2, and she came and took the children from my house. And she's refusing to let me talk to them. She's not talking to me, and I'm not really sure how to resolve that.
That is a challenge.
Was there an experience that happened, Rachel, that caused her to...
Yes.
Yeah, what was the experience?
Yes. Okay, so this is what happened. My daughter has been, she has a sense of entitlement because I spoiled her a lot when she was younger. And so if she does anything that I disagree with, then she will just retaliate by not talking to me. But most recently, the incident that occurred where she said she'll never talk to me again was because she was not helping to provide for the food or any of the financial needs for the children. But she wasn't working at the time. But when she did work, she still didn't help. And then she had the nerve to order a wig that cost $450 and send it to my house. So when I got it, I never gave it to her. I did throw it away, which I'm not saying that was right, but I was just so upset. So because of that, she said she'll never talk to me again.
Okay, Jill or Jim, what's next for Rachel?
Well, I think your daughter is entitled.
Yes,
and she's
very.
acting entitled, and that's a little bit petty, if you ask me, to not talk to you.
Yeah,
over,
I don't know that I would have
the
thrown the wig away. I
Right.
would have returned it
Yeah, right.
for the money.
Right. So I don't, your action, I'm not going to, put you down on the action. What was she thinking? My guess is, has your daughter done this before and then it kind of comes back around?
Yes, there have been times when we haven't spoken, but yes, she has. But I don't think it has been for this long of a time.
Yeah.
This time it's been like maybe a few months.
Right. Well, I sure...
Have you reached out to her,
Yeah.
Rachel, at all
Yeah,
in
that's
the
what
few
I'm saying.
months?
Well, I did reach out to her, and she told me she just decided that I was toxic and she didn't want me in her life. That was her response. And then I think what caused it to escalate is recently my granddaughter, the older one who's 13, reached out to me and told me that her mother was beating her and that she was bleeding. So I went to get her. And when I got her, I did observe those injuries on her. And so I tried to get a protective order. And that kind of made it worse in terms of my daughter. And
Well,
but I
that would
felt
make
that I
it
was making
worse,
the right
but
decision.
yeah,
Yes,
that of course she's going to really be mad at you now. But that was the right thing to do for
Yes.
your granddaughter. If there's abuse
Yes.
that's going on, you have to protect them. They are minors. And
yes.
So what happened as a result of that in terms of your granddaughters?
Okay, so what happened is I went to hire an attorney, and they were so expensive. I wasn't able to get one. Mm-hmm. So then I wasn't able to afford one. So then I spoke to some family members who had observed the abuse over time, and they said they would come and testify. And then the day of the trial, like the day before, they said they weren't coming because they were afraid that if I didn't win, then she would prevent them from seeing the grandchildren as well. So everybody manipulated pretty much.
Mm-hmm. So the grandkids are 13, and what's the younger one?
She just turned 10.
10. So at 14, your granddaughter can decide where she wants to live. But if there's abuse going on, I don't know if that could happen sooner.
Well, I wonder, Rachel, if there's an opportunity to call Children's Protective Services in their area so that they can then take the case on as opposed to you being the one that's trying to make this happen.
Yeah.
I applaud you for taking this step.
Is that who you...
Thank you. I did call Child Protective Services, and I brought my granddaughter there, and they took our report. But when they went to my daughter's house and they completed the report, the investigation was very minimal in its scope. So they visited her home, opened the fridge, and took pictures and said, there's food in the fridge. The child doesn't look malnourished, and she has a nice bedroom for her. So we don't think she's in danger, which is craziness to me. And then they spoke to the younger child there.
I think sometimes you have to call more than once.
I just think that
I mean, it's a big deal to remove kids from a home, right? So, but they did observe the markings on the child.
She did.
Go ahead.
She did observe the markings on the child, and she told me that she saw it because she did speak to my granddaughter on her own. But by the time she got to my daughter's house, my daughter is very manipulative.
Right.
But see, here's the thing, Rachel. You started a paper trail.
Yes.
And so it may not been at the level where they felt like they could intervene yet, but I would call them back. I mean, you hate for worse things to happen. I would keep in contact with my granddaughters as much as possible and see if you can spend time with them. And then if anything else, you get wind of anything, you call back, and you might have to be, the squeaky wheel that keeps calling. Right. But at least your granddaughters will know that you are a safe place and you will do what it takes to protect them. And I'm sorry about the relationship with your daughter. Things like this do put a wedge in relationships.
Yeah. Right.
But
Jim,
you have to do the right thing.
Well, I think what Jill said, Rachel, you did the right thing. You heard us just all jump on that. You made the call to CPS. You also now have started what they call that paper trail. It's in their computer. You pray to God that something else doesn't happen, but I'm gonna gamble that there probably will be something that could happen. Let's hope it's not terrible. And this next time, you don't have to be the person who's in the fight. Let CPS take care of that in many ways. But you did the right thing. This isn't going to help your relationship with your daughter.
No.
For right now. She's not going to understand that. But you did the right.
Unless she gets help.
Right. You did the right thing.
Well, and one last thing. Go ahead.
Sorry. The family members, I understand their position. But if you can write down anything they have said that they've observed and not put their names to it, that's also information you can give.
Okay, well, thanks so much for calling, Rachel. We're glad all of you called today, and we hope something that we said helped you. If you need help, you can call us, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or you can go to newlife.com, and there's so many great pieces of information that can change your life. And we hope that you'll visit us again next time.
We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you. But you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.